Good morning. I'm Jim Hogan, Gloucester County Clerk, and it's one of our Fireside Chats. And I have two very interesting people here, generations apart. I have Chastity King, the granddaughter of Bill King. I'm going to call him Bill King, but he's also a medical doctor. He's also a pastor and a retired full-bird colonel. And he doesn't care what his titles are. But he's a man of, clearly a man of all seasons, and a very valuable treasure for the county of Gloucester and surrounding areas. So we're going to start this story with Dr. King's granddaughter coming into my office with a proposal, with a project. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Chastity, and basically why you came in and what it was all about, and how it evolved. So,
well, it actually started all back in, I'm going to say 2014, when he first was recognized at Spear, and he was really sick then, and I was like, you know what? I'm always hearing stories about how individuals are being honored after their pass, and I'm all about celebrating life while they're still alive. And I hear so many great stories about my grandfather, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to make it happen. So I reached out to the directors, the chief of staff over at Inspira, and they helped me with the project over there by him being honored there. And I said, I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to keep going. So, of course, years later, I said, he got sick again. I said, Chastity, you got to stop doing this while he's getting sick. We got to, make this happen. So I decided, while I have this time, I'm going to really sit down and plan everything out by reaching out to the community, as well as other individuals outside of the community who knows my grandfather, and to make sure that he is recognized and appreciated and shown how much he is loved by the community, and not just the community, by other individuals as well. So over the course of time, my grandmother helped me, as well as my other cousin, Paul Crosby Jr. He reached out to my grandfather and did an interview. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah. But PJ helped me with that as well, because I wanted to make sure that we have as much possible information on this plaque, because he has such a long resume. We absolutely couldn't even fit half the stuff on there, because he has done so much for not just for the Gloucester County, as well as Philadelphia as well. Just so much history in itself. So long story short, I wrote press release, I wrote letters, I reached out to you, I reached out to Woodbury, the Woodbury mayor, the freeholders, the senator, everybody that I knew that my grandfather had an impact on. I wanted to make sure that they were fully involved. And, I just wanted to make sure that he's just shown how much he's loved and appreciated. And he doesn't know, but I'm still going to keep going.
okay. Well, she came and sat in a chair in front of me and basically told me what she was doing. And I'd already knew that he'd been honored by Inspira. But she's essentially building an oral history for the family. And when you have an anchor, and I'm going to call him an anchor because I know he's a community anchor. I know I get his opinion many, many times on issues, and people that want jobs. If I remember right, we had a conversation about judgeship years ago.
Correct.
You were one of the two people that were interested in diversity on the bench, and a situation arose, and I think I called you and Hank Payne, among others, for an opinion on the matter. You talked about the need to take care of the spiritual side of inmates, and there was virtually no significant programs. So that was the first step in building this relationship with this amazing, outstanding individual. But we met again. It was Dr. King was on the initial group of people, as I was on the Human Relations Commission, and it goes one step further. There was a thing called the State Human Relations Commission, and I got a call from the governor's office, then Governor Whitman, that they wanted to put me on the State Human Relations Commission, and I said, okay. I said, but there's a string attached, and I said there's a outstanding person from Gloucester County that would like to be on the State Human Relations Commission, and I'll come on if you take him, and you're going to be glad that you did. So if my memory's correct, that's how it exactly unfolded. I think to sum up my initial comments, he's a legitimate giant of a man, and I'm going to call him a treasure for Gloucester County. That's my opinion of him. We had a tragedy in our family in '17. And as I got out of the car, he's the first man I saw at the church. And so when somebody who's had some health challenges doesn't get too far away of his role as a pastor, doesn't get far away from it at all. In fact, he was being a pastor. It was comforting to see him on that day, and I don't think I ever thanked you on that. So with that, I'm just going to call you Bill.
Fine.
How about if you give your impressions of your granddaughter, what she did for you, and whatever else you want to talk about?
Well, I'm still praying for her because she knows that I've never been able to handle publicity very well.
Mm-hmm.
I usually shy away from it, so every time somebody mentions doing A, B, C, and D, and I tell them, you really don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
So her effort, this last effort, in reference to the realization of her idea, was kept totally from me. And that was difficult to do, but
Yes.
I was really caught by surprise. I was told by her, or she had asked me if I would be willing to talk to some of her young sorority sisters,
Mm-hmm.
About life, and I was going to discuss about core values of life, what makes them up, what makes them a profitable and productive individual. And she had set the date for Saturday at such a time, to which I thought I was going. And I was to pick her up to go up to Rutgers up in Camden for this little discussion. So when the time came to leave, my wife and I got in the car, coming down Cooper Street to pick her up, and I see all these people standing in the street with a policeman at one end, not knowing what the problem was. And I kept saying, you know, what's wrong? So the officer didn't know who I was, so he was making all traffic turn right. So I turned right and to go around the corner to get into the office the back way. And then all of a sudden he said, no, wait a minute, back up. They've asked you to come up to where the crowd is. And I still had no idea. I had no idea what they were doing until I walked down the driveway of the 50 Cooper Street. And I was told. And I was shocked. I've always been taught that if you're in a situation, there's something that the Lord wants you to do in reference to improving the situation, improving the lives of people in that situation, if you can. And so when I'm involved with a committee or a group, I always want to know what's your mission statement, what's your vision statement, where are you going, how are you planning to get there, and what do we do after we get there. And that's been my philosophy. Even when I joined the military, my reasons were somewhat selfish because my interest was in flight medicine. And my private practice, I will admit, I wasn't handling very well. The volume of work was overcoming me, is what it was, because I never had learned, in a structured situation, I had never learned time management. So when I mentioned about going into the Air Force to get a chance at flight medicine, my wife took the idea, and the next thing I knew, that when I had come home late one night from the office, lo and behold, she had the recruiting officer at the house. And at that point, I was so tired, I raised my right hand, took the oath. But it was a wonderful experience. Just working with young men who had come into the service, because the people in military are just a microcosm of people that comprise Gloucester County. There's no difference because you're in the military. You still have the same problems, indebtedness, depression, you name it, they have it. And when it comes to a mission that they might be on, that may be a negative factor in trying to complete the mission. So, you can't have people flying the C-5, which is the largest aircraft in the world, and he has had a disagreement with his wife at home and is depressed, and he's flying this important mission. It doesn't work too well. So it was challenging to be a flight surgeon because it not only taught you the things that happens to the body when you're at 30,000 to 35,000 feet flying, but it also taught you to deal with people. I was at McGuire Air Force Base at that time. I was the commander of the 514th Air Force Squadron, and the elevation to, at that point I was a light colonel. When the order came down for the full promotion to full bird, then they made me deputy commander of medical resources for the whole base. So I had 2 Aerovac squadrons, 1 MASH unit, and the hospital under my command.
Mrs. King, who's not here, is a very gracious lady. I've been with Bill's wife many times, and in fact, I was with her yesterday, and she told me I had to stand up. So I'm a Roman Catholic deacon, and when the clergy was told to stand up, out of respect for Protestant churches, sometimes deacons are not put in the same category as pastors. So I was reluctant to stand up, And because of that, just respecting the church that I was in. And she said, "You got to stand up." So I wasn't even sure she was dialed in on what I do. So she obviously must have been.
Yeah, she was.
So let's go back to Chastity. All right. So all right. As we close this, Chastity, what does the plaque say? What does it recount about Bill King's life?
Well, it basically talks about, when he was born, December 14, 1930. Talks about a little bit about his parents, his upbringings, how he attended Virginia Union University out in Richmond, Virginia. Also talks about how he went to the School of Philadelphia to receive his doctorates, and also he went to school for physical therapy. While all in school, he also was part of summa cum laude, correct? Yes, he was always honors. So that was important, not just for him, but his family as well, our family. And it talks about how he wasn't just working for Ed Spirit. He worked for Kennedy. It also talks about just how he worked in the military and raising a family, his two children, my Aunt Mia and my father, Chad King, and being married to my grandmother, Coletta King, and all that he has done, just having a family and sharing his life with other people and attending school, just balancing a life. And, that's pretty much it, and how he's just a man of Christ, and he believes being patient and humble.
Patient and humble. I know the plaque looms up in front of the building.
Yes.
I mean, it's not overpowering, but it does grab your attention when you're driving down the street.
Yes.
I'm going to conclude our Fireside Chat with two remarkable people: a loving granddaughter who doesn't take no for an answer, and I'm just going to call him my friend, Bill King, man of all seasons.
Thank you.
Thank you.